We're ready to design the door for our cabinet. To start off, we're going to measure the opening in our face frame and add 1 inch both ways. That extra inch is to account for a 1/2 inch overlay all the way around. That means that the door is going to overlay the face frame 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. On this cabinet, the opening is 10 3/4 inches tall and 15 inches wide. That means the overall size of our door will be 11 3/4 tall by 16 inches wide. Now that we know the overall size for the door, 11 3/4 by 16, we can start figuring out the size of each piece on this door. So first I'm going to list the pieces. We need 2 rails, 2 stiles, and 1 panel. The thickness of all the pieces will be 3/4 of an inch. We can choose a width for our rails and stiles. I recommend they be at least 2 inches wide, but that's up to you. I'm going to make the width of my rails 2 5/8, and we'll do 2 1/2 for the stiles. And actually, when we're finished, the rails will be 2 1/2 as well. I'll explain why in a minute. The next easiest dimension to find is the length of the stiles, because they run all the way top to bottom. So we can look at the height of our door, 11 3/4. I'm actually going to add 1 inch because we want these to extend past, so that afterward, when we square our door, we will cut the excess off. And that's actually why I've made the rails a little wider, because when we cut the ends of the stiles off, we'll also be removing a little bit of the width on these rails. So 11 3/4, we'll add 1 inch to those for the height of our stiles, or the length, and we'll make them 12 3/4. Okay, for our rails, to find the length of the rail, we have to look at the width of the door and then subtract 2 1/2 from each side. So 16 minus 5, because we've got 2 of them, gives us 11 inches for the length of our rails. However, these rails are actually going to go in 1/2 inch on each end. So instead of 11, we add 1/2 inch on each side. It's going to be 12 inches long. Okay. For the panel will go in 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So add 1 inch both ways. So for the width, it's going to be the same as the length of the rails, because it's going in 1/2 inch each way. For the length, we look at 11 3/4 minus 5 inches, because we're going to have 2 1/2 on top and bottom. We get 6 3/4. And then again, we add 1 inch because we're going up and down 1/2 inch on each end. So we get 7 3/4. Now, obviously, this door isn't proportioned correctly for these dimensions, but you're going to follow the same rules to figure out the dimensions for your door. Measure the opening, add 1 inch each way to find the overall size, and then start with those dimensions in the order that I did them. That's the easiest way to figure them out. If you have any questions, shoot me an email and I can answer them. Okay, good luck.